Hey team, this is Landon Smalley. I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of the project that I've been working on for the past few weeks. So this is the Night Tracker program. Um, Here's the login process right here. So the users can either log in with credentials. This will be used for administrative users, or they can log in with a PIN if they're just normal aircrew members. So using these credentials, this login page. So if you look over here to the left where my mouse is at, we have this user pass table. In here I have a couple of usernames and passwords for some administrative users. And that is what that's going to use to log in. So let's try this real quick. Awesome. So we've successfully logged in. Sweet. So from here we have this main view of the administrative login, and you can see here it says that we are logged in as an administrator. So from here on the right we can view all of the air crew members that exist in the flying squadron. And again, this is just an example, so we only have about 21 people here for the project, but we can see that the DoD ID number of every individual is displayed, as well as their last and first name, and then their crew authorization. So any crew authorization that starts with an I means that they're an instructor, and then any crew authorization that starts with an F means that they are a student. So what we can do here, we're on the Add Members tab currently, so we can add people. First, we have to put in all of their crew information. So let's start out, let's see. Sweet, so let's put in this DoD ID number real quick. And this is all made up. So let's say I want to have myself, and just be aware you have to fill out all of this information up top. So the ID number, the first name, the last name, and the crew authorization number. So if we try and save the member without all of this filled out, then it's actually going to come up and tell us if it'll, there we go. So it'll say that we need to fill out all of the aircrew information, and this could be any information for the first name, last name, or crew authorization. If something's missing, it'll tell us, hey, you need to fill this out. So let's put this all back in. Let's just say I'm going to be a student for this round. Um, so as you see, these top two crew authorizations, so those are instructors. These bottom two are students. So if you look down here at the bottom, we have training information. All the left-hand column is for instructors and the right-hand column is for students. So if I click one of these instructors, then this entire left column becomes editable while the student column becomes uneditable, and vice versa. If I pick a student, then all of my student columns are now editable while my instructor is not. The idea here is that when I put in some information for their training completion dates, that I don't want to accidentally record instructor events for a student or student events for an instructor. So let's say I'll just be a student today and I want to put in some, let's see, a date. So we'll say 08/09/2022. Actually, let's back up real quick. So let's say I don't fill this in right. I just have 09, pardon me, 08/09/202. So here we're going to have a check that's going to say, hey, you need to check your date format. Because as we see here, all of the dates have to match month, month, day, day, year, 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 year. So that's going to check it for all of the entered fields. So let's say also that I put a future date. So let's say I put that on the 18th of August, I have completed some training. It's going to say, wait, you can't add future dates. Please try again. And the idea here is that I cannot give myself credit for something that I have not yet done. So let's say today I completed my CAPS test and I'm not putting in any information for their spins test or their sept with IP. So if they don't fill this out, it will auto populate to 01012000, which essentially tells the administrative user, hey, you need to put in some information later. So let's see, we will save the aircrew. It says a student was added, press OK. And then as we look over here, we see that Landon Smalley has been added, and that's FUXSV, which is a student, and their ID is here. So let's go over and check and make sure that that worked. So here we have all of the crew members' names, or their last name rather, and then we have an instructor table and a student table. So the idea here is if you have instructor and a student that share a last name, that this will populate both. So we saw we had two Smalleys. I was already in there as an instructor, so I'm now in here as, let's say, uh, so these are two different people, just keep in mind. So let's say the top Smalley, the instructor, has a DoD ID number of 146389031, where the student Smalley has a DoD ID number that's 3535353535. So here I can view both Smalleys. So up top I can view the completion date for all of instructor Smalley's events, while if I had a student with the last name of Smalley, I can view all of their student information. So while I click on something, let's say I click on the instructor Smalley, if you look down here at the bottom, you'll notice that the instructor information all fills in. So what this is doing is this is grabbing all of their training information from the selected person, and now I can go in and manually edit them. So as we see, these are all defaulted. So let's say, I'll just say 08052022. And then over here on IRC, let's say I did that on 07/22/2022. So if I hit save here, I'm going to see that records have been modified. And then if I look, I have a modified record here as well as a modified record here. And this will also check to make sure that they have met the month, month, year, year, date, date, correction, month, month, day, day, year, 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 year format, as well as ensuring that they don't put a future date as well. So this is essentially what the administrative users can do. I also have notes down here just as a reminder for the administrative user, kind of what the format is for each of these boxes. So if we go to log out, it will tell us here that we've been logged out, and then it's going to open up the login page again. So let's say I want to be just a normal user, and I have a PIN that is programmed to my common access card, my military ID. So for this example, I set a PIN of 2468753. Let's say I didn't get it right. Let's say I put it in wrong. It'll say, hey, please try again because it was the wrong PIN. So I'll try this again. We said, pardon that, 2468753. So I'll hit enter. Sweet. Now we are logged in as an aircrew member, which we'll see up in the top left. And then here, this is the training log. So here I will select a crew type, a name, a DoD ID, last four. Again, if someone has multiple, pardon me, if there are multiple people who share a name, then we'll pick which individual we want to view. And then we can also add some training. So let's say I want to pull up an instructor. Now I'm going to get all of the instructors' names are populated here. Again, if I pick student, all the names have changed to only student names. So let's say instructor, last name, let's say it's Desolates, and it auto-populated with the DoD ID number. So if there are two individuals that are instructors with the last name Desolates, then it will actually show both of their information. So let's go back over to Desolates. And then here we can view all of her training information. So here we have our crew authorization. Instructor CRM here on the left is a one-time event, so there's no due date on there. But we'll see for all of the other events that it populates with a due date of when you have to do something again. And each event has a specific time frame in which it needs to be done again. So for instance, the qual eval was done on July 28th of 2022. 18 months later, it has to be done again. So from here, let's say, sweet, I viewed their information, but let's say I want to log some training for them. So let's say, let's go to the right here, and we'll say mission currency. So mission currency sortie looks like 0804. If I go down to these completed events, and again, this is instructor only events because I selected an instructor, I'll go down to mission currency sorting, and then I'll put the date that I did it. So the assumption here is that the completion date is being entered in the most recent completed date. So in other words, 0804 is before the next date that I'm inputting. So let's say 08/08/2022. I'll say log event, and then we see over here on the right side that it was updated. And again, we have the same checks now to make sure that we enter a date that actually makes sense. So if I just put any number, something that doesn't match, it'll say, hey, you need to check your date. And if I put something that doesn't make sense, so let's say 08/35/2022, again, it's going to say, hey, that date does not work. Real quick, go back to this admin login. Let's log in as someone different. So this system will check to make sure that someone does not exist already. So before we added a smallie that has the DoD ID number of 3535353535. So let's say I'll put in a different name. Well, the very first check it's going to do is it's going to see if this ID already exists. Because it already exists in the database, it's going to say, wait, you can't do that because every individual has only one ID. So ideally here in a real world situation, I would have essentially re-added Landon Smalley, who is a student here. And then from there, it works its way down, making sure that the first name, last name, crew authorization are all added. Yeah, so that's a quick overview of how this project worked. I hope you guys enjoy it, and feel free to check out the discussion and the several pictures that I have printed of what I just showed you. Awesome. Have a good one.